Coming up, 9 layouts ranging from N to O gauge, with possibly one of the best layouts in Britain today. I'm Andrew Gebby from the Heritage and Model Rail channel. Join me as I visit the Festival of British Railway Modelling, held in Doncaster over the 8th and 9th of February in 2020. This double O gauge layout is Bournemouth West, exhibited by the South Coast Model Railway Development Group. Bournemouth West models the southern terminus of the Somerset and Dorset Railway, which closed in 1965. The layout is built to double O gauge and is based in the 1959-1962 period. As well as being the terminus for the trains travelling to Bournemouth over the Somerset and Dorset line from Bath, it was also the terminus for holiday and cross-country traffic from the North and Midlands. It was used as a terminus for London Waterloo trains using the LSWR route. Many of these trains were split at Bournemouth West, the other portion going to Weymouth. Other services operated from here to Salisbury, together with push-pull trains to Brockenhurst via Wimborne. Measuring 35 feet by 12 feet across 16 boards, the scenic area is 35 feet long, with an extended fiddle yard to the rear of the layout. Using photographs and drawings, we have attempted to portray the station as it was in this period. The layout is built to double O fine scale standards, using C&L track. All points are hand built. Buildings are in the main scratch built. We use a digital control system which allows us to set routes in and out of the station, operate using sound and gives us an automatic uncoupling function. Signals are all scratch built and fully operational with slow action and bounce. We are also operating some of our colleagues' locomotives, which are fitted with smoke fully synchronised with the wheel revolutions. The layout has a crew of 7 with a minimum of 5 to run to a set sequence to represent a typical working day in 1960. This N-gauge layout is Ashtown, exhibited by the Bingham Model Railway Club. Ashtown is an N-gauge layout based on a fictitious town, probably in the East Midlands. It is an industrial town which grew quickly in the Industrial Revolution, but is now in decline. The period modelled is late 1950s through to the 1970s. A secondary main line serves the town. A small tar distillery close to the station is still active and rail served. Passenger traffic which may appear on the line ranges from non-stop expresses to local stopping trains which terminate in the bay platform. Freight traffic consists of full and empty mineral trains, parcel trains, milk trains, pick-up goods, some of which pick up and drop off tankers, open wagons and vans in the tar works. Running starts at exhibitions with mostly steam locos, progressing through green diesels in the 1960s to finish with blue diesels in the 1970s. The layout covers an area of 6 metres by 3 metres. There is a traverser in the fiddle yard with one operator and another operator at the industrial area end. A third operator shunts in the tar works or parcels bay and interacts with the public. Control is DCC with some locos sound fitted. This P4 Scale 4 layout is Boston Frodsham, exhibited by Mike Knowles. Boston Frodsham is an end-to-end layout measuring 16 feet by 2 foot 6, set in the 1975 to 1985 era. It is partly based on the swing bridge at Boston Docks and the Wharf in Frodsham in Cheshire. Inspiration for modelling the swing bridge came from a 2005 issue of Traction magazine. Several pictures of the wharf at Foddersham show an RB22 crane which has been modelled. Track is C&L fine scale, powered from a Lens DCC system with all locos sound fitted. Points are activated by Tortoise slow motion motors. They are controlled from a lever frame built from a Scale 4 Society kit. Operation of the layout assumes that trains approach the docks via a branch from the main line and enter reception departure sidings. Since the mainline locos are too heavy for the swing bridge, they uncouple and move forward to the stabling point. The 03 and 08 shunters then move wagons a few at a time over the swing bridge into the dockside area, returning with other wagons for dispatch. The mainline loco runs around to enable it to depart with the outgoing train. Motive power consists of an 03 and 08 shunter combination permanently coupled to each other. The 03 incorporates a detailed backman body on a high-level kit's chassis and is powered. The 08 is a modified and detailed backman with the motor and gears removed to make room for a sound decoder and decent speaker. Mainline locos are a Class 25, Class 37 and a Class 31, modified with pen bits sprung bogies. This 16.5mm gauge layout is Caroline Concrete Works, exhibited by Graham Morfoot. The inspiration for this layout comes from the Tallington Concrete Works that is alongside the ECML near Stamford. Built in 1943 to produce concrete sleepers due to the shortage of imported timber during the war. The works has been operated by Dowmac and Costain Tarmac in the past, making concrete sleepers along with concrete structures for civil engineering. Production on the site reduced when sleeper production was moved to Doncaster and Birmingham. A European consortium has now been formed to use the site to produce the track panels for the HS2 project. The Tallington Works did not have a narrow gauge railway, although one was proposed, but does have standard gauge sidings within the complex that are connected to the main line. The layout is a shunting operation with a narrow gauge system moving materials within the works and finished products to a standard gauge siding. Measuring 8 feet by 2 feet, the layout is built across 2 boards. The back scene is a commercial product. Buildings are all scratch built with Pico Code 100 track and points. Control is analogue, controlling scratch built stock. The layout is small enough for one-man operation. This O-gauge layout is Falcon Road, exhibited by Ian Harper. Set in the outskirts of a busy city centre station in the London and North East region, Falcon Road is depicted in the early 1960s. The scenery reflects the approach to some of our major cities, where the railway uses tunnels to get into the city centre stations and goods yard. Falcon Road is a typical inner city terraced road with a mixture of houses, the local pub, fish and chip shop, small factory, corner shops and a local garage, all overlooking the railway cutting. Sound equipped locos are both ready to run and kit built, including Pacifics and diesels of the era. The layout has working semaphore and ground signals, all operated by the Digitrax DCC system handsets. The 16-foot by 2-foot scenic section is complemented by 2 4-foot traverser boards and a hidden return section, enabling realistic operation of O-gauge trains on a very small footprint, ideal for exhibitions. The overall footprint is 26 feet by 6 feet, allowing 4 operators to work the layout. With remote handsets we can operate from the front, interacting with visitors as well as from the back. This P4 gauge layout is Farringdon, exhibited by Rex Davidson and Stephen Williams. The layout is a scale model of the former GWR branch station at Faringdon in Oxfordshire and is entirely hand-built. The model depicts the station as it might have appeared during the transition from GWR to British Rail in the period 1947 to 1955. As was typical of minor routes in this period, the buildings retained the GWR colours, whilst engines and stock carried the new liveries of the nationalised railway. Passenger services at the real Farringdon were never more than a shuttle service to the junction of Uffington, which ceased in 1951. Modeller's licence has been used to extend the time frame to show a more varied range of typical branch line trains of the period. In addition to the pannier tank with its curious concertina coach that ran on the real Faringdon branch, there are large and small prairie tanks on imagined local services from Swindon and Didcot, as well as a collect goods on branch freight trains. The layout measures 18 feet by 3 feet across 4 boards plus 1 fiddle yard. Buildings are scratch built from card painted with watercolours. Track work is all handmade using riveted wooden sleepers. Control is DC using a controller developed by Stuart Hines in the 1980s and is now quite rare. Locomotives in stock include converted items of ready-to-run stock together with good quality kits. My thanks to Stephen for the information. This 00 gauge layout is Fenny Stratford, exhibited by David Court. This end-to-end layout is an accurate representation of Fenny Stratford station on the nearby Bletchley-Bedford line in the 1950s when it was twin-tracked to Bedford. The section modelled is from Stag Bridge, which carries the former A5 trunk road, to where the railway crosses the Grand Union Canal. A busy goods yard serving Rowland's Timber Company and a small coal business, together with a livestock loading dock, are also featured. Stock is all ex-LMS and LNER as prototypical for the period. Control is DCC using the NCE power cab system with Kendal Fire handheld units controlling locomotives and route setting via the JMRI wireless application. Slow action point motors with micro servos control turnouts, signals and level crossing gates using the JMRI Panel Pro software instead of a conventional panel. This 009 layout is Castle Wharf Kendal, exhibited by Ian Kirkwood. Castle Wharf is the Lakeland terminus of the South Westmoreland Light Railway. Set in the 1930s, the layout measures 1200mm by 500mm and represents the station at Kendal. Retaining walls and the stone walls are made from Will's plastic sheets, topped with plasticard coping stones. The baseboard was constructed of ply with an integral backscene made from flexible MDF. The backscene with the ruins of Kendal Castle in the middle distance and Lakeland Fells in the distance was painted on a piece of extra strong lining paper. Track is Pico 009 with DC control. Points are operated by the wire in the tube method, connecting to slider switches at the rear to switch frog polarities. The station building was based on the original buildings on the Ravenglass and Eskdale Railway. Rolling stock is almost all kit built from Backwoods kits and a Meridian Models kit. Goods and passenger stock were produced from plastic kits. Stock is painted in the colours of the old Furness Railway. A sector plate under the buildings gives access to the fiddle yard. This N-gauge layout is James Street, exhibited by Steve Wright. James Street was my favourite layout of 2019 when it was exhibited at the International N-gauge show in September. It has won many awards at numerous shows. This layout is huge and needs 8 operators to show it at its best. Measuring 20 feet by 11 feet, the layout is a 4-sided open square with no fiddle yard. At a show, around 80 locos, 200 coaches and 600 wagons are on display. Stock not being run is held in large freight and passenger marshalling yards, providing scenic storage. Set somewhere in the Midlands, the layout is mainly served by London Midland and Eastern trains, although Western and Southern trains can be seen. All the track work is Pico Code 55, flexible track, with points cosmetically modified to remove the large reinforcing plastic moulding around the tie bar. Pico point motors are modified to accept larger switch mechanisms to provide indications of route setting via LEDs on the control panels. Stock is extensively auto-coupled and uncoupled during a show, which is achieved by fitting B and B couplings. Multiple uncoupling magnets are distributed around the track in the stations and goodyards. Buildings are a mixture of scratch-built and proprietary. There is so much going on it's difficult to know where to start. The core of the layout is the 2- and 4-track mainline circuits. The 4-track mainline circuit has an overall run of 20 metres, almost a scale 2 miles, and is arranged with 2 parallel tracks in each direction, normally used as slow lines on the outer and fast lines on the inner pair. Trains running on the 2-track loop can be transferred to the 4-track mainline, coordinated via 2 different operators. Being an open-sided square, you have to walk all the way round the layout to appreciate its different features. The main station on the layout is James Street Terminus, which has 6 passenger platform roads capable of taking 8 or 9 coach trains. 4 carriage sidings run parallel on the outer side of the station, while the inner side is a large coal yard, goods shed and cattle dock. Crossing the throat of the station is a single-span girder bridge carrying the 4-track main running lines. Beyond the bridge is a large loco depot capable of holding 30 steam and diesel locos, complete with coaling tower, ash tower and turntable. Moving around the layout to the right is Kendal Town Station and marshalling yards. The marshalling yards are located between the inner and outer continuous runs. They consist of 7 goods roads and 10 carriage sidings, 4 of which pass through the carriage shed. Kendal Town Station has 6 platforms and is built partly on a viaduct across the end of the layout at 90 degrees to James Street Terminus. Moving round to the right again, you come to the 3rd side of the layout, featuring Linford Junction Upper and Linford Junction Low Level stations. These stations are the key to moving traffic from the main running lines to the James Street Terminus and the freight yards. Linford Junction Upper is built on a curve, whilst Linford Junction Low Level provides routes to the various other parts of the layouts. Finally, moving right, you come to the dockyard and the industrial estate, which has warehouses and terminals for various traffic including oil, cement and a dock for imports and exports. The operators work to a sequence to ensure all the areas of the layout receive service, which takes 56 separate full train movements. A train leaving James Street Terminus will go via Linford Junction Low Level onto the twin-track main line and then onto the 4-track main line before being sent around a reversing loop and back onto the 4-track main line in the other direction. From here the train is sent to the carriage or goods marshalling yard, where it can be held until it can be worked back via the innermost continuous run back to the terminus, thus completing a circuit of the entire layout. The sequence requires close cooperation between all the operators and can take up to 2 hours to complete. Taking a layout of this size on the road is a considerable undertaking. A van was bought for the job and is used to its full capacity. It takes about 3 hours to erect the layout and 2 hours to be on the road at the end of a show. To watch more videos like this, click on the playlist and I'll see you there.